Less inventory strikes again. 3 ways for agents to create more of it. That's what we're going to cover in this monthly market report. This is for you if you are a real estate agent, a financial advisor, or an attorney interested in market data to help you advise a client, or perhaps you are that potential buyer or seller looking for some direction. I'm Paulo Rodriguez. I've been a mortgage professional since 2005, and here is the market data that you need to make an informed buying or selling decision, or help your client do the same. You won't find anyone that disagrees with you if you say that interest rates have been a challenge for the real estate industry. But the bigger challenge continues to be inventory. Across the country, there is not even one market with an oversupply of inventory. Maybe some markets have more available homes for sale than others, but the story of the last few years has been less inventory. This is total listing count going all the way back to 2017. The red line was when COVID came in the spring of 2020, and then inventory started to fall. But why is that? Well, the meaning of home changed. People started working in their homes. Their kids were attending virtual classes at home. They were also eating at home. They were working out at home. Everything revolved around the home. Interest rates then sank below 3%, and so people jumped into the market and were driven by a desperate need they had never experienced before. That's what started to deplete inventory across the country and fueled this market that we've seen over the last couple of years. And while inventory has risen year over year, it's still below where it was in 2019. Why do I reference 2019? Well, because that was the last normal year that we saw before the pandemic. When we look at our data in the present day, it doesn't make sense to compare it to 2020, 21, and 22 because those were not normal years. You've got to go back to pre-pandemic times, which were 2017, 18, and 19. This graphic from Realtor.com does a great job showing active monthly listings in the last 7 Februaries, 2023 compared to all the way back to 2017. And you see 577,000 active listings in February of this year compared to over 1 million in the years prior to the pandemic. So significantly less inventory across the country, and that's why I say the bigger issue than interest rates is inventory. It's only a matter of time before we get through the interest rate issue, and hopefully that will be later this year. But it's going to take a lot more time to resupply this country with the inventory that the market needs. Case in point, month over month, we've depleted even more inventory. We're down about 6% January over February of this year. Literally, every state except Hawaii had an inventory reduction. And when you consider that in northern states, the winter weather can be prohibitive to a busy real estate market, what's going to happen in the summer months when there is more activity because the weather permits it and parents need to move and settle in before school starts? The lack of inventory in this country has kept an upward pressure on prices. That's the reason things haven't spiraled out of control like we saw in 2008. And this graphic, which I have shown many times in the past, shows new construction single-family housing units that have been completed going all the way back to the 70s. And as you can see, for 14 straight years, we've been below the 50-year average in the number of units brought to market. So when you have 14 straight years of lack of building homes, combined with an ever-growing population, that is how you end up with a housing deficit. And some pretty reputable forecasters would agree and say that we're undersupplied, anywhere from 1.5 to 5 million homes. So if that is the case, does that mean that prices are rising? Well, no, not necessarily, but it does mean that they are not plummeting like some people would like to believe. This graphic from Case-Shiller, FHA, and Moody's shows how prices have fallen from the peak. So if the peak was in June of last year, more or less, they have only fallen 1 to 2.7%, and not this runaway train of 20% depreciation that some people said was going to happen. And of course, the reason for this is the lack of available inventory, the lack of number of homes that are on the market. So if prices are coming down slightly, you might ask, should I buy a home right now? It's a good question. Is it cheaper to rent or should I buy a home? There are 2 things to consider. First of all, rent always goes up. This graphic shows a median asking rent since 1988. It has always gone up. Yet, when you buy a home, your mortgage payment remains fixed. Therefore, by being an owner, you can bring stability to the largest expense line item of most people's household budget. The second thing is that prices have a tendency to go up over time. This is the Home Price Expectation Survey as of the fourth quarter of this year. They're projecting 1.6% depreciation in 2023 and appreciation after the fact. And so that might leave you asking, well, why not wait until the end of the year to buy if prices are going to come down slightly? Well, if you want to wait for prices and interest rates to come down, what do you think everybody else is doing? It's almost like Black Friday at Walmart. You're not getting in. And if you do get in, you're also getting in a fight. Now, I'm not saying we'll see the COVID buying frenzy again, but make no mistake, we are headed back to a competitive market. And personally, I'm already seeing some of my clients finding themselves in multiple offer situations. The bottom line is that if you go back the last 30 years, the average appreciation in this country was almost 300%. So we can confidently say homes go up in value over time. Rents always go up over time. And by being an owner, you can secure your housing payment through buying a home, which is also an appreciating asset. So there you have it. There are a lot of people right now that are saying it doesn't make sense to buy a home. The real estate market's in trouble, homes are going to lose 20% in value, this thing's going to crash, and it's just not true. So now that we have established the health of the market and we understand that our primary issue is the lack of inventory, I pose the question, how can we create more inventory? That's a question for realtors watching this, of course, but if you are a potential seller, this is a valuable perspective for you as well. The first point of interest would be expired listings. I say this because we know that homes are now taking longer to sell, and we know that means listings will expire. If a homeowner doesn't relist, that's a pretty good indication that their expectations were not met. Possibly their agent didn't have the hard conversations that needed to be had about what's realistic and what's not. These people listed their homes in the first place for a reason. And if I were a real estate agent speaking with the owner of an expired listing, I would identify what that original need was. That's the key to getting them to relist. The second point of interest is the amount of equity that homeowners now have in their homes. Homeowners today are sitting on so much equity, and many of them don't even realize it. And they don't understand how this could facilitate a trade up or a move down depending on their needs. Here is a quote from Atom Data that speaks to this. 48% of mortgaged residential properties in the United States were considered equity rich in the fourth quarter, meaning the combined estimated amount of loan balances secured by those properties was no more than 50% of their estimated market values. So homeowners have significant equity. They've gained it over the past couple of years. They've earned it over time, and they may have more equity than they realize, and that can fuel their move. And speaking about the last couple of years, the third point of interest is people who bought homes over the last 2 years. Why? Because they were probably rushed into the purchase, in some cases sight unseen. One has to wonder if in the heat of the moment there were details about the home that were missed and which are now bothering those homeowners enough for them to consider making a move. That could be your next listing as well. That's a wrap for the March monthly market report. I appreciate you listening in. Forward, subscribe, share. I'll be back next month. But before you go, if you're looking to purchase or refinance or know someone that is and would like a no-cost consultation with me personally, feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to analyze if your debt is structured in the most optimal way or if there's room for improvement. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.